down here in downtown Minneapolis outside of the United States Federal Courthouse. This is the second day of trial for Ms. Kim Handy Jones versus the City of St. Paul. This is the civil trial for the case of the killing of Cordale Handy by the St. Paul Police Department. Cordale Handy was killed on March 15, 2017 by two St. Paul police officers. We are out here asking you guys to come down and support Ms. Kim Handy Jones and her family during this trial. We're just asking folks to come down for court support. The trial starts every day at 9 a.m. and goes till about 5. Much needed. It makes a difference.
Are there any updates you guys want to talk about?
No updates at this time.
Oh, I'll talk. So, I wasn't there for the entire morning, but I want to say this is why it's so important that families support families, the community supports families, because Kim Handy Jones has taken this case further than I think anyone that I've ever known of for someone who's been killed by St. Paul Police, because historically St. Paul Police have been doing their own internal investigations. So I don't believe they ever thought that they would be in this position where they're actually in court. I don't believe that they thought they would have a lawsuit that would stick, because Ms. Kim realized her first attorney was not really doing the job. So she went with who else? Community United Against Police Brutality Reinvestigation Team, because we dig deeper, right? And got down to the truth. So now we have two attorneys, Kevin O'Connor, Paul Bossman. Paul Bossman is our local attorney, a brilliant man, a genius. He took the charge for my nephew, Marcus Golden, who was also killed by St. Paul Police. We just didn't make it to court because of the technicality caused by the police telling so many lies. So it ended up selling. It could have been thrown out. Once again, it was a technicality, but we had them. So the St. Paul Police Department, they're trash. If they had any decency, they would have settled this with a serious offer and spared Kim and her family all the pain of seeing the videos, pain of seeing his body laying out on the ground, the pain of seeing his body with bullet holes in it. But we just have to recognize that's who St. Paul is. They have the deadliest police department in the state. Officer testified today that he didn't have a body-worn camera because it wasn't required. After Marcus Golden was killed in January 2015, one of the city council members put pressure on the St. Paul Police Department to get body-worn cameras, and they refused. And they were allowed to not take action on that. They had the support of Mayor Chris Coleman. If they had acted back then, we would have definitive proof of what happened, because we would have the videos. Keep in mind, St. Paul Police does alter videos, create videos, and alter audio. And I stand by that. I said what I said. So, this was just good old-fashioned investigation. We know that Cordale Handy should not have died. We know that Cordale Handy died because he didn't receive the medical care and treatment that he needed, which is another tragedy about this whole thing, that the St. Paul Police does not value black, brown, and Hmong lives, Native lives, whoever that they decide to turn their gun upon is their victim, and generally it's swept under the rug. So today what we heard, Nathaniel Yance. I'm going to put him up for a Daytime Emmy Award. When he talked about his education, everything, he was quite joking. You know, it's my education, what I did, why I wanted to be a police officer. Then when it came to like the active shooting, oh, here come the theatrics. Oh, I didn't want to have to shoot. You know, he didn't have to shoot him at all. We see white men taken into custody after even shooting and killing officers. Cordale Handy was having a mental health crisis. That's what it was. His gun was not functioning. He had no bullets in it. He testified, Nathaniel Yance testified today that, you know, he doesn't trust someone saying that the gun, it is unloaded. Okay, I get that. But the location of the gun is not something that's up for debate. Location guns in the middle of the street. How is Cordale on the curb? That's what we saw today. Cordale was on the curb. The officer talked about, you know, the dog. He felt he was threatened by the dog. He considered shooting the dog. But then he said, I just chose to, shoot Cordale because I'd rather have a dog biting my leg because Cordale was like the greater threat. Well, then the attorney representing Cordale gets up, Kevin O'Connor, and says, was the dog acting in a threatening manner? Was the dog growling? Like, it's a small dog. He didn't say that. I know it's a smaller dog. So the dog was not acting in an aggressive manner. So if the officer considered shooting a dog that's not acting in an aggressive manner, he shot Cordale, who was not acting in an aggressive manner. So that's a problem with his judgment. He had some issues with his recall as well.
Perception.
His perception. Okay. But, so he had some issues. He couldn't remember his testimony that he gave to the BCA, so he contradicted himself. I guess it probably sounded better in court. So, Kevin O'Connor, like, this is your testimony. Is this what you said? Well, I mean, I guess if they're like, no, this is what you did say. This is your official statement. And he contradicted himself. Again. Right? So, one thing about the truth. When you tell the truth really doesn't have to change because that's what you remember. But when you're telling lies, the pieces of a lie never fit together like the truth. So, this St. Paul police, we know they're going to lie, right? They're going to try and protect themselves. They've been covered all these years. So I'm so glad that Kim has been bold and strong and standing firm on exposing the St. Paul Police Department and getting his name cleared and getting justice for her son. And we want to make sure that this is about what happened at the time the police interacted with Cordale. It's not about anything he did before. It's not about what happened years before. And not even saying like there's something to cover up. I'm just saying focus on when the officers got on the scene, what they saw, what happened. Nathaniel also testified that there's a black woman and a white woman who is there. And he's never seen such a look of fear in anyone's eyes, that they were terrified that Cordale was going to shoot them. Well, here comes attorney Kevin O'Connor. Well, right here in your statement, you're saying that when they saw you, when they saw the police arrive, they had big eyes and the look of fear on their face. That makes more sense. They knew the gun was unloaded. They could trust what they knew. So the St. Paul police are deadly. These women knew it. They were terrified when they arrived on the scene because we see people getting killed who are having a mental health crisis time and time again. So now, I hope and pray, and I hope y'all stand with us in solidarity that Kim gets justice for her son, that these officers, yes, are found, I mean, actually it's a civil suit, so it's not going to be found guilty, but that she wins this civil suit. Money won't bring her son back, and we know that. We know that. But when someone is caused harm, there should be compensation in some way. That's how our society works. There should be compensation in some way. And this is what St. Paul needs to do to compensate Kim Handy Jones. There's not enough money in the world, right, that could even cover the pain that she's had. But that settlement should be enough where she could have some peace while at night, knowing her son is in the grave and these officers are still free, not charged with a criminal crime. One of them still works. Was it Nathaniel Yance? He still works for St. Paul Police Department. St. Paul Police Department is a safe haven for killer cops. It's what it is. We have people in the evidence department changing and getting rid of evidence. We have support from the top to the bottom, from the mayor down. Not heard a statement from the mayor, but okay, that's the norm. So, it's time for change. That's why we want to make sure that Kim knows that we're out here supporting her. If you come down, you can just pop in and out. You don't have to stay the whole time. But she's got some good cheerleaders on her side right now. We're going to keep lifting her up and holding her up, calling out the lives of the St. Paul Police Department and the officers. So, more to come. We'll be down here, we expect all week. Not Friday. Friday, the judge doesn't work on Friday. And so we'll be back Monday, maybe Tuesday, 9 o'clock a.m. till 4:35. We're on a break right now, so this is probably the time we'd be outside. But come down, show some support. We are going to throw up an event. We're going to have a rally to be determined, the date, based on this outcome. Kim Handy Jones needs justice. It's justice for the community because we had a community member who was taken. And anytime, this is what Mel Reeves said, anytime a community member is taken, we have not only the right, but the obligation to respond.
And when we're thinking about King Demetrius, whenever we're thinking about a case like this, it's important that the community comes out and stand in solidarity and respect. Not only that, in 2016 and 17, when this incident occurred, there was no Black Lives Matter, anything like that, any types of group. There was groups, but it wasn't as big as it is now. I retract that statement, but it wasn't as big as it is now. So just think about what the police had did. They have been caught up in numerous amount of lies. Just so we clear, whenever you come in the courtroom, just prepare yourself for a lot of lies that you're going to hear from, police departments. This is what they do over and over again, being caught up in their lies. But a lot of people are concerned about the jurors that's sitting there, not knowing if this is going to go left or right, et cetera, et cetera. So just be careful, be kind to yourself. Please come out, stand in solidarity. Kim needs all the support that she can get. The notes that we're taking is very staggering, from the time this incident happened. Also, they talk about the white female and the black female who was the witness, who was Cordale Handy's significant other at the time. We talk about the white woman indicating that he had a gun, but the gun does not work. But also, they talk about the situation that the woman did call the police on the police because she was in fear about what they would do to a Cordale Handy. And what she indicated to them, please don't hurt him, please don't hurt him, please don't hurt him. She knew immediately whenever it came to the police, and not only St. Paul police, what would happen to him, and his demise got met just within a couple of seconds as they got on the scene. Immediately they looked at him as a threat. He had a gun, and they killed him expeditiously with no questions. And not only that, after they killed him, they put handcuffs on him.
I'm going to piggyback on something King D said. The officer testified that he was afraid Cordale was going to go to 7th Street and shoot a homeless person.
Right.
I don't live on 7th Street, but I'm there enough to know I've never seen unhoused people just hanging around walking down 7th. And it's like, I've never seen it. So I don't know where in his mind, that's not logical. So I know his mind is illogical. That means he's not a rational individual. That means he should not be able to carry a gun, right? And also, I want to point this out. He claimed that when he saw Cordale, he said, please drop the gun. When have you heard an officer say, please drop the gun? If he fears for his life, please, never have I ever. This is what this man had the nerve to come out.
And then not only that, after Cordale Handy dropped the weapon, police officers shot at him. And then they indicated that he pointed the gun towards the police officer, and his partner was in fear for his life. That's why he discharged his firearm several times. I mean, like, the stories that you hear is just totally tomfoolery.
Let me just say, yesterday we had testimony. Where one of the witnesses witnessed the gun being thrown that he had, and then he fell to the ground, and then he was gunned down by the police. And one of the police officers today testified that he couldn't see.
Exactly.
He was clouded by the smoke from the gun, but he just kept on shooting. And I've never seen such recklessness when firing a firearm or a weapon in the direction of somebody. You're taught that every bullet comes out, you're accountable for every bullet. But you had an officer testify that he couldn't see what he was doing, and he just started firing. The question, I think one of the overarching questions is that this is a case where it's decided by a preponderance of the evidence, 51%. And it's when you have cases that involve black men being gunned down by the police, oftentimes we have to us as black people have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt, even though that's not the standard. And so it is my hope that the judge, or that the judge, the court, the jury sees all the lies, that all the theatrics that are coming out of here, and hear what is being said. Because in my opinion, we're well beyond 51%, and we still have more to go. So I just want to echo that Kim Handy Jones needs the support of our community. I want to echo everything that everybody else has said up here, and we need to be down here and support. This is what we do. This is when our community needs to turn up and show out, and we need to support Kim Handy Jones and end this cycle of murder and death from people who are supposed to protect and serve that have only proven to protect and serve themselves.
And one last thing about if you cannot show up here today to be in person and support, Kim Handy Jones has started the Cordale In Remembrance of Me Foundation. What she does is she raises money to get headstones for people who have lost somebody to police violence or to community violence. So if you can't be in here in person to support, please look it up online and make a donation. I'll make sure that the link is on our CUAPD page, and I'm sure other pages as well. But again, if you can't support in person, please donate to the Cordale In Remembrance of Me Foundation.
And just to say this one other piece, like, whenever you come to court, there's going to be a lot of egregious things done to you. And one of the things that we've seen constantly and we've witnessed was the police officer who killed Cordale Handy constantly joking on the stand as though it was just a joke to him. It's not like a person's life was lost to him. It's all a game to him, and he's still on the same Paul force. So that's very concerning as a citizen.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
do you feel as though, like, the judge, how are they doing? If you want to comment on this.
Yeah.
Does it seem fair, like they're being even-handed? Because sometimes we hear about how the judge is on the side of the cops.
I really think in this case, with this judge, I think he's very fair. He's very open. He's a kind-hearted judge from what we've seen. He's been very fair, very fair. He's been rejecting some of the things that happen, not allowing some of the things that will probably veer off into another subject. He's been real fair. Just so we clear, he's been real fair.
Who is the judge?
Judge Doty.
Doty? Okay. The jury process, is there anything you guys want to say about that?
I think for the jury process, it's got me thinking of conducting a study on how jury pools are done. We know that in the state of California, they amended their processes for creating different types of jury pools that are more fair. They opinion that jury selection is riddled with racism, and I think that it's an opportunity for us to reevaluate our processes, not just here in the state of Minnesota, but around our country. But I haven't seen any research around jury pools or how they're selected and what pools do they draw from, who's allowed, who's not allowed. But it's something that I think that we should take a look at, because we don't have the information right now to determine that. But I think one of the biggest things that stuck out to me was when you have a jury pool of 30 to 40 jurors and not one of them is black. There's a problem. There's a problem with that. Or when the jury consists of everybody from outside in a two-ring suburb. When you look at the counties where some of the juries are coming from, it doesn't mean that they can't be fair and impartial. It doesn't mean that they can't do the job. But I was always under the impression that it's a jury of our peers, so there should be somebody there that looks like me.
At least one or two.
So, yeah.
And it's very troubling the way perhaps the juror was picked. And that's another thing that we want to talk about, indicating that there were so many people that was stuck in the elevator. And these was people of jurors. And they basically let them go home because they were stuck in the elevator for about a half an hour or so. Something like that probably never happened in a federal courthouse. We want to question that. Also, we want to make sure that whenever we picking a juror of our peers, it's someone that looks like us as well. We don't just want to have just all white jurors or what have they, because a lot of times individuals stay in the suburbs, right? So they may have Black Lives Matter in their yard, but they don't mean they have it in their heart. And so we clear. We want to be sure of that. So a lot of them, jurors that was picked, we've also heard about they had some ties with law enforcement as well. Some of them perhaps probably back the blue. We don't know. But one thing that we do know, there wasn't any black jurors that's on the stand, and that's very concerning.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you all for tuning in.